This is the Ohio AgNet from the Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Zatavo soybeans, transforming the approach to soybean seed decision-making with trailblazing innovation and quality without compromise. I'm Ty Higgins. Fertilizer prices have become one of the biggest concerns facing farmers, particularly at a time when commodity prices are putting tremendous pressure on farm margins. Ohio Corn and Wheat is calling for more competition and transparency in the fertilizer market, and the Federal Trade Commission is now involved. Joining us from the Ohio Corn and Wheat Board and farmer from Clinton County, John Settlemyer. John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Ty.
You really started digging into this issue a couple of years ago. Take us back to that experience and what happened.
So May of 2023, I'd had an agreement with my co-op for, our phosphate potash blends. We got about halfway through the application and they said they'd run out of phosphate, but they wanted to switch us over to mez. And I said, I'm fine with that as long as the price per unit of phosphate's the same. And they said, no, we're going to go price per ton's the same. So you're going from a 52% phosphate concentration down to 40%, which, that's a significant increase in my costs. And I said, I don't think that's going to work. And the guy said, well, go get it somewhere else. So I checked with two other vendors. I get stuff from the Ohio River. There's two warehouses there. And then there's a co-op north of me about an hour that I also get it from. And all three of them had run out in the same week. And started to ask some questions, and from different folks in the industry found out that the inventories are owned by the manufacturer, Mosaic, and they control who's got the volume and they shift it back and forth. But the idea is they all run out at the same time. So even you think you've got three different vendors, you've got one person in the back room controlling everything. And I said, okay, it's time to look at this a little more seriously. And we started talking about it, and we started sharing our story with other states. And, there's 23 states that we see at a lot of these NCGA meetings, and everybody's got a very similar regional issue with their supply chains. It's corrupt, it's broken, and it's not working for the producers.
What do you want to see come out of this FTC investigation? Are you looking for enforcement, more transparency, more competition, or something else, John?
About 1995, I think we had 20 companies that were mining fertilizer in the U.S. 10 years later, 2005, 2010, it dropped down to maybe half of that, 10. Today, we've got maybe two companies, Nutrien and Mosaic Mining. So we don't have a competitive supply chain. So we need to open up our imports, the ability so that we can compete in the global markets on our supply so that we're on equal footing with our folks down in Brazil. It's going to take a little bit of thought about how to correct this issue. I think we need to look closely at the relationship between the retailers and the manufacturers and the distributors, how that supply chain works, who's controlling that supply chain, how is it tied up. Sometimes the manufacturers lock out all of the infrastructure, the berth in New Orleans where product comes in, they'll just leave product in there for months and months at a time and play rent on the space to keep competitors out. So we need to open up those channels. We need to have more options for us to buy our inputs.
John Settlemyer, a farmer from Clinton County and a member of the Ohio Corn and Wheat Board. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ty.
If you want to make your voice heard to the FTC during this investigation, you can email fertilizercomplaints@ftc.gov. That's fertilizercomplaints@ftc.gov. Let's check the forecast, brought to you by Seed Genetics Direct, the #1 fastest growing and largest Ohio-based independent seed company. Here's Ryan Martin.
Showers continue to try and exit parts of Ohio here this afternoon, while we see clouds giving way to sunshine elsewhere. This all leads to a big clearing overnight tonight, and tomorrow turns out partly to mostly sunny. Just in time for moisture to come back at midweek. Wednesday sees scattered showers coming into northwest Ohio first, spreading across the rest of the state through the overnight and into early Thursday. I think we can see a 1/4 to 1 inch of rain there. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll check the midday numbers and some news behind the numbers after this on the Ohio AgNet.
Harvest may be ramping up, but your Ohio soybean checkoff has been working all year long. The Ohio Soybean Council is putting your checkoff dollars to work, from advancing research to help produce more profitable beans, to developing new uses for soy-based products. We're focused on delivering value back to Ohio soybean farmers, and we're doing it by investing in the areas that matter most to Ohio farmers. That means strengthening export opportunities, fostering connections with animal agriculture, and continuing to grow demand through biofuels. Visit soyohio.org to see all the ways your Ohio soybean checkoff is at work.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and today's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company in Upper Sandusky, opening to receive soybeans starting September 1. So Ohio farmers plan to get your RFID tag the week of August 24th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Find out more at 419-731-7100. Multiple reports last week raised Argentina and Brazil corn production to a record 70.5 million metric tons and 143 metric tons, respectively. That, coupled with the fact that Argentine corn is the world's cheapest, weakened our corn. Rumors from Asia reported China already bought 7 million metric tons of beans as of last week. That would be nearly one-third of the pledged 25 million metric tons promised by China by year's end. This check of the markets on the Ohio AgNet brought to you by FS Envision and High Soy, seed made for this ground. Learn more at fsseed.com/Ohio. Corn higher by 2 to 3, the beans up 14 cents, and wheat now falling 2 to 3 cents at midday. This is the Ohio AgNet.